Hello, ladies and gentlemen, 'tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I'm many voices, but one opinion. And today, Marvel and DC have gone through a long, bumpy ride. I mean, Marvel started their MCU, and Phase 1, 2, and 3 were doing a really good run until Phase 4, 5, and the others it started going downhill recently. Except Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 did a great job, and so did Deadpool and Wolverine. Hmm. But, and of course, DC Universe, well, with the DCEU with Zack Snyder, I mean, they had a good run. I mean, like I said, they did a good job on the Justice League and such. But sadly, most of the DC superhero movies were getting a little weak until James Gunn decided to take over, and of course, Jack Schneider has his blessing, so he decided to go along with it. So now James Gunn is creating his own project, and some of them are still bitching about it, and even some wanted Jack Schneider back and bring back his Schneiderverse. Uh, but one thing that not many people realize, back in the 90s and 2000s, there were a lot of DC, I mean, not DC, but a lot of forgotten superhero movies and TV shows that not many people didn't even thought much of back then. So, therefore, I decided I haven't done this in a long time, so this is my top 10 forgotten superhero movies and shows. So, let's start this whole thing up, shall we? Starting in number 10, Shield. I mean, not Shield, Steel. Now, Steel. Now, from the comic books, it's based in the original comic book of Steel ever since they did the Death of Superman, and they have like different versions of Superman themed superheroes who is might be taking over Superman until Superman himself came to life. But the character Steel himself is part of the Superman universe. He was a former military man who saw how bad Metropolis has been getting since Superman was gone. So he decided to take matters in his own hands by being more like Superman. So he sort of Iron Man himself. He made himself a suit of armor, except it's made out of pure steel, and it has jet boots, so he can fly. Even though he has a red cape on him, he needs jet boots to help him fly, and also carry a sledgehammer that shoots lasers. So pretty much, he's just a guy from a small town who joined the military, came back and idolized Superman, so therefore he became his own Superman. But the movie Steel, on the other hand, Shaquille O'Neal with his bad acting, they just made just a, I mean, it has nothing to do with Superman. I mean, it was bad enough that they did Supergirl with Helen Slater, and not to be shared in the Christopher Reeves universe because Christopher Reeve got sick and tired of the whole Superman genre, so he refused to make a cameo appearance. Uh, and of course, the movie itself, I mean, it didn't go well because Shaquille O'Neal, he has this, him serving in the military, he discovered a new type of weapon that creates some kind of sonic wave force field that knocked things out without bullets, and it hurt his one of his friend that she ended up in a wheelchair. So he decided to become a superhero by wearing a steeled armor with a high-tech sledgehammer. And of course, Judd Nelson, he plays the bad guy who is smuggling those kind of weapons so he can give it to whatever wants to be buying those weapons. My advice to you folks, avoid Steel. It's not worth the money and it's not worth the watch. Number 9. The Birds of Prey. Based on the original comic by the same name, The Birds of Prey started with Barbara Gordon. After Barbara Gordon, her years becoming Supergirl, and then in that one comic book, The Killing Joke, the Joker shot her, severed her spine, and now she's ending up in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And all of a sudden, she starts meeting other crime-fighting women who wants to join. The Huntress and Black Canary. The Huntress, she's hinting that she might be Batman's Batman's daughter, and she fights crime with a crossbow. And Black Canary, well, she has martial arts skills, but she also has a sonic scream that could shatter people's eardrums. But of course, I know in the later comics, Harley Quinn joins and Catwoman joins. So it's not always Barbara Gordon and Huntress and Black Canary. Sometimes some of the other girls starts joining. But the TV show, on the other hand, the TV series, it was nothing like the comics. I mean, they got Barbara Gordon right. And of course, Alfred from the comics, he's in the show and he's assisting Barbara Gordon. I mean, one thing that's pretty true on Barbara Gordon, when she's in a wheelchair, she's no longer Supergirl. Now she starts hacking in computers and giving some details. I mean, she becomes like the strategist on a computer, and that's why she calls herself Oracle. But of course, they changed something in the show. Batman and Catwoman, they both fell in love and they both had a daughter, which is Huntress. But one thing that kind of bothered me, Batman and Catwoman don't have any superpowers, so why the hell does Huntress have superpowers? And one thing they did with Black Canary, she didn't have a sonic scream, but she keeps having psychic visions when something is going to pop up in her head. And the main villain in the whole story is this one woman who's trying to start some sort of a corporation business, and it turns out that she is Harley Quinn herself, who's trying to pick up where the Joker left off. Unbelievable. So, as a Batman fan, I don't even think I'll be interested in watching The Birds of Prey. And don't get me started on The Birds of Prey, the movie with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. That that I mean, it just sucked. It just really sucked. Now coming on number 8, Blankman. Now, Blankman didn't come from any comic books or anything, and it was a huge love letter to Batman, and I don't mean the Tim Burton Batman. I'm talking about the Adam West Batman. You know, the colorful, corny campiness, and that's what Blankman was referencing. And Damon Williams, he did an outstanding job playing a superhero. His grandmother was murdered by this big evil mob boss named Manelli. So now he's ready to fight crime and also take vengeance. And talking about Wayans, I've heard that. Did you know that they were planning to have Marlon Wayans as Robin in the '89 Batman movie? I mean, there was a storyboard that they were trying to introduce Robin, and they were planning to cast Marlon Wayans as Robin. I mean, hell, when Batman Return came out, there was an action figure of Robin, and the features look pretty black. I mean, they tried to continue on with the Robin idea. It just sadly they kind of whitewashed this action figure. Seriously? Whitewashing? What the hell, man? Hey. But I tell you, if Marlon Wayans was in the movie, he would have made a pretty good Robin. And of course, that's why in the Batman '89 comics, they finally did introduce the Robin that we all wanted to see from the movie, right here. And I knew that they kind of copied his look out of Marlon Wayans. Possibility. But anyway, check out Blankman. I mean, it is a love letter to the silly, corny, campy of the Adam West superhero genre. Now coming in number 7, The Phantom. Now, to me, I thought it was a good movie, and Billy Zane did a great job. But of course, one thing I couldn't get enough on seeing is Catherine Zeta-Jones. Mm-hmm. Catherine Zeta-Jones. She is like fine wine. Doesn't matter how old she gets, she is aging perfectly, still fine. Michael Douglas, I envy you. But anyway, The Phantom was a good movie. It's just too bad that the other movies that came out in the blockbuster became a bigger success than The Phantom, that it became nothing but a memory. And for those of you who don't know what The Phantom is, The Phantom, he's kind of a mix between Tarzan and Batman. So he pretty much protects a made-up jungle island that he protects. And also he protects the tribe who lives there. And one thing about the Phantom, they call him the ghost who walks. So every time because every time in the whole genre, when somebody kills the Phantom, they don't think it's they think it's the same Phantom. That's why they call him the ghost who walks. But it turns out in the in the original series of the Phantom, the original comic, Kent Walker was his name, and he became he became the new Phantom when his father died. So, after he took over the persona of the Phantom, he took vengeance for the guy who killed his father. So that's why every time in the Phantom, when somebody says, "Who is that guy?" one of the bad guys says, "Somebody already killed." The ghost who walks. And he also has a white horse named Ghost, and also a pet wolf named Devil. And of course, one thing not many people know about the Phantom is that there was back in 1943 there was a serial of him that came out, and of course after the movie during 2000s there was a TV series, but nobody ever even seemed to watch that show, sadly. So the Phantom, good movie to watch, and Billy Zane did a good job. Now coming on at number 6, Mantis. Now, one thing I know about Mantis, our main hero here, he was a scientist, but he knew that he was a techno scientist until somebody planted a bomb and it exploded, causing him to end up as a cripple. Just like the Oracle, he ended up in a wheelchair. But he knew that there was corruption going on, and he wants to do something about it, so he made himself an exosuit that helps him run, jump, walk, and everything. So he pretty much fight crime as Mantis, and Mantis are actually initials. It stands for something which I kind of forgot what it meant. And before anybody knew, the guy who played the hero is, of course, Carl Lumley. The same guy who does the voice of Martian Manhunter from the Justice League. Now coming on in number 5. Tank Girl. She's just a girl, the girl you want. Now, Tank Girl, it's based on a comic book, like every other, except in the comic book, it's mostly about that they call her Tank Girl because she's just a mischief-making young woman who has a thing for tanks. She loves riding tanks. I mean, she just loves driving tanks. She always has a thing for tanks. That's why they call her Tank Girl. And she's also living in the future, which takes place in Australia, where the sun got too close to Earth that pretty much vaporized most of the water supply. I mean, pretty much dried up all the water throughout the Earth. So now, water is very valuable. I would have been a rich son of a bitch. And of course, in the story, we have the main bad guy. He's more obsessed with water than anybody else. But the problem is he can't find any way to get water. But he invented a device that sucks the water nutrients out of a human body. Sucks the water out of our bodies and just make a new fresh water. So, and of course, him and his bad guys kidnap 2 kids that Tank Girl was supposed to be taking care of. I mean, she's like a mom figure to them. And she also meets some friends along the way, like she meets this one girl who kept getting harassed by one of the bad guys. So she pulled out a lesbian persona. And this girl, she is called Jet Girl. And what she likes and what she has a thing for is she loves jets. She loves flying jets. And also she meets these mutated hybrid humanoid kangaroos. And at first they thought that Tank Girl and her friend Jet Girl are spies, but they turn out they were on the same side. So now the kangaroo men decided to help Tank Girl and Jet Girl. And they also met another girl. Of course, she's a little loopy, a little crazy, and they call her Sub Girl. She has a thing for submarines. Although, living in a world where there's no water, it's kind of hard for her to drive a submarine. So I guess she must have one of those kind of subs that goes underground. And you should check out the comics. I bet they're a lot crazier and sillier than the movie. It's just too bad the movie itself didn't become a box office success. It's just become one of the forgotten superheroes. Now coming on in number 4, Witchblade. Now, for those of you who don't know who Witchblade is, Witchblade came from the Image comics. And one thing I heard about her, I mean, her name is Sarah, and she works for the NYPD. But sadly, her dad was murdered by a crooked politician, but he had some mob connection to keep him clean so he can win the election as mayor and probably governor and maybe president. So Sarah was so determined in trying to stop and trying to expose this shady guy. And then from out of nowhere, she finds this ancient old relic. It looks like some sort of gauntlet. And the curator told her that this gauntlet was the best weapon that was used by the legendary Joan of Arc herself. And it's called the Witchblade. And what it does, it forms like knives and stabbing weapons, and also can cover the whole body, form a shield. And surprisingly, the Witchblade chose Sarah, so now she has this Witchblade and started taking down all the bad guys that she dealt with in order to make sure that justice is served. And it was based in the comics from the Image comics. Now, of course, the difference between the show and the comics always kind of make her look kind of risque. I mean, it's supposed to create armor for her, but why the hell do they keep giving her some sort of like bikini armor? At least the TV show is more decent. So check out Witchblade. Now in number 3, Judge Dredd.
I am the law. You are under arrest. Resisting arrest. Forming a crime. 20 years. How do you plead?
Not guilty?
I knew you'd say that. The sentence is kissing. Pucker up.
I wanted to add that.
You betray the law! Law!
Yeah. I mean, this Judge Dredd movie is pretty amusing, especially with Festus Stallone in the movie. But the thing is, the movie was more like PG-13 instead of R-rated because it's based in the Judge Dredd comic books from the company, a British company called 2000 AD. And what the story is about, it's about the future where a nuclear radiated bomb started making people having superpowers and psychic powers and whatnot, and supernatural things starts happening. And now they keep all the mutated people out who ended up as cannibals while they made this huge city for the decent innocent people called Eagle City. But sadly, Eagle City, the crime rate was going so high because of the drugs and the guns and the crime and everything. So now the people from Eagle City, they don't have courts or anything. So they decided to create a a a some sort of troops that are judge, jury, and executioner, which they are called judges. Hmm. I wonder if Judge Judy would like to join. But of course, the big difference between the movie Judge Dredd and the comics. Now, Festus Stallone, he always shows his face, so he always keeps removing his helmet and always showing his face. But in the comic books, here's one thing you should know about the comics. One time there was one scene in the comic when somebody threw a tomato on his helmet and it made a huge stain on his helmet. Judge Dredd had to remove his helmet and everybody was gasping horror over his face, and there's a huge censor bar on his face right here. See that? A huge censor bar, so we never know what he looks like under that mask. I guess we'll never know what he looks like under that mask. And while I'm on the subject on Judge Dredd, my opinion on, I mean, for those you're going to be asking me, my thoughts on the Dredd movie with Carl Urban, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Carl Urban did an outstanding job in the movie. And also, the actress who plays his partner, she was wonderful. And she's one of my celebrity crushes, of course. I mean, I saw her since Juno. And I also think Juno's overrated. But anyway, Judge Dredd, very entertaining, but it's becoming more like a Festus Stallone movie and not a movie based on the comics. And to my opinion, the Carl Urban Dredd, much better. It's just too bad they didn't make a sequel, because after they were done filming that movie, they were planning to make a sequel, but it got canceled. What the hell, man? Now, number 2, Nightman. Not Nightmare, Nightman. Now, he is based from a comic book. I mean, he was based completely from the Malibu comics of Nightman. And for those of you who don't know what Malibu Comics is, it was an independent company that sided with Image itself being an independent comic book company as well. But sadly, Malibu Comics didn't make enough money, so Marvel owned the rights. I mean, Marvel owned the rights to Malibu Comics with their universe called Ultraverse, and they were doing like a crossover with the Marvel superheroes and the Ultraverse superheroes, and that, I mean, Marvel been doing too many changes, and that kind of stunk really bad. And sadly, Marvel didn't want to do any more of Ultraverse superheroes from Malibu Comics. But Nightman is from that comic book. His name is Johnny Domino, and one thing happened to him. He got struck by lightning, so it did sort of a damage with his eyes. I mean, brightness blinded him and hurts him, but he can see in the dark. He has night vision. And also the effects of the lightning cause him to unable to sleep, so he cannot sleep during the night. But he noticed that there's a lot of crime and corruption going on in the world, so he has a friend who does all the techno stuff and giving him the gadgets and such. So he goes around fighting crime as Nightman, and also have a unique gadget of a hologram. So if he has like a saxophone gig that he has to do, he let his hologram take over, playing the saxophone while he's out fighting crime. I mean, I remember the TV show Nightman long ago, and I thought it was not that bad of a series. And of course, even Nightman made an appearance from a group of superheroes that are also from the Ultraverse, the Ultra Force. He made his appearance in that cartoon series. Now in number 1, Spawn. Now, Spawn was created by a comic book artist and writer, Todd McFarlane. And Todd McFarlane put Image on the map. He's the one who created Image Comics. Because he was getting so sick and tired working for Marvel, because I mean, when he was doing Spider-Man, he was the one who did the design idea for Venom, and also put in the details on Spider-Man's web, which most of the people from Marvel wanted him to stop putting details on the web. And also, they wanted them to do all the artwork for Marvel Comics, but no credit. And that's when Todd McFarlane rebelled against Marvel, and that's when he created Image Comics, and that's where he made Spawn. Now, before they made the movie, there was also a HBO animated series, which was a lot like the comic. It was R-rated, it was gory, violent, and even some disturbing scenes in the comics, which is also in the animated movie. Not too disturbing, just, I mean, something a little mild, but not too much. But when they made the movie, they picked a good actor, but the CGI was I mean, it wasn't that advanced at the time. And of course, John Leguizamo playing the clown, also known as the Violator. I mean, he was unrecognizable under that makeup and all. But the biggest problem with that movie was it was PG-13. And that's another thing that was happening in the 90s and 2000s. Every time when they take a franchise that was definitely R-rated and had a lot of violence and even a lot of blood, when Hollywood decided to make a movie adaptation out of it, they decided to remove all that violence and make it PG-13. Just like they did with that 1993, I mean, is it 1993 or 1997? Mortal Kombat movie. And that is my top 10 list for the day. Since I know a lot about Spawn, stick around, folks, because next Wednesday, I'm going to be reviewing Spawn. And also, another thing, folks, I got all the lines from my next Doctor Who episode, so I'm going to be working on Doctor Who Dead's Head in the Crossfire. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, this is my top 10 for the day. If I left anything out, if there's anything you want me to add on the list or something like that, please leave a comment down below. Hit like and subscribe for more of my videos. So, this is me signing off. So, I'm the multi-voice I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember so I could jog your memory.